I'm Kay Tucker. I'm a strings adjudicator for the British and International Federation of Festivals, and sending greetings to all in Edinburgh from my home in West Sussex in England. I've been asked by the committee to share a few thoughts, and I was sent some questions to answer. So here goes. The first question I was asked, how did I get into music? Well, I started the cello quite late actually. I was nearly 12 years of age. It was just a few months before my 12th birthday. And I learnt at school. I had free lessons, and I also had the loan of a free cello. And I'm so grateful because my parents couldn't afford lessons. And if I had never had this opportunity, I might never have got started. But I learnt very, very quickly that music and making music for the cello was the thing that really made me happy, and it lifted my spirits, and it was a real comfort because actually I had quite a difficult time at school, but that's another story. And I decided that the one thing I wanted to do in life, and I could do in life, was to be a musician. I left school with very, very few academic qualifications, and so I had a bit of catching up to do. And once I'd got those academic qualifications, shall we say, under my belt, I then discovered that my cello playing technique was a little under par, to say the least. And in order to get into a really good music college, I had to relearn my instrument, and that was really quite tough. I first had to have a few muscles loosened, a visit to the osteopath, and then I had to learn absolutely everything from scratch, learning how to hold a bow, learning posture, learning how to move my bow arm, and absolutely everything. And I had to learn how to analyse everything in great detail. It was very tough. And at times I wondered if I was ever going to reach my dream of being a professional musician. But looking back, it was probably the best preparation I could have ever had for my future career as a teacher and a performer and an adjudicator. I certainly learnt how to think for myself and think independently and work things out for myself. And that's also an important life skill. I've been asked, do I have any tips on good practice and how to prepare for a performance? Well, my number one tip is practice slowly. I say boringly, snail's pace, slowly. And Itzhak Perlman, the great violinist, has this little saying. He says, practice slowly, learn slowly, forget slowly. Learn fast, practice fast, or forget it fast. And it's very true, because we learn music and all the things we have to do physically, technically, and also all the information we have to take in with our ears and also with our eyes with music, very, very slowly. It needs to be learnt very, very slowly, because our brain is working very, very hard when we're engaged in playing music. And if we rush the process, something's going to be forgotten. And so I would always say, as a string player, consider things like learning the left hand first, pizzicato, before introducing the bow, or just playing the bowing patterns without the left hand. And spend some time looking and thinking about the music. And when you do start trying to pace it together, do a few repetitions, but do it very, very slowly. And you will find that speed is not an issue once, shall we say, the notes, the technique and the musicianship is all in your, shall we say, your system. Now, I would always say about tips about how to prepare for a performance. Well, the one thing to remember is that you're going to survive it. Yeah, some people say, oh no, I can't ever perform for other people, but music is meant for sharing. The reason you're playing an instrument very likely is because you enjoy listening to music, and you've had the opportunity to get started. Maybe you've had a family member who's encouraged you. but music is meant for sharing. If you go to an event, if you see on football matches, what do they love to do is they love to sing songs, don't they? And I know in these times some of this kind of sharing can't happen quite the way it used to, but we do share music over Zoom, and we also enjoy listening to music through mediums of our phone, our computers, on television, and it draws a response from us. It makes us experience emotions, the very things that make us human and make us in some ways very different from the rest, shall we say, of the world. But it's also about communication, and we need to be able to learn how to reach out and communicate clearly with each other. So that's one thing that you can learn, and it's also a great benefit of playing in a festival, which was another question I was asked. Remember, above all, that music is about communication, and with your music you are telling a story. Whatever the storyline is, it is about a character, a mood, a story. And you need to focus on that a little more, perhaps, especially when you feel worried about what will people think of us. I would really try not to worry about what people might think of you, and all that people might be very critical of you if you make mistakes. I promise you, you will make a mistake. And I'm not interested as an adjudicator if you make mistakes. I know that you probably will. I get my tongue tied sometimes when I'm adjudicating. It happens. That's life. We're more interested in how you cope when you make a mistake. And the one thing to try and learn to do is not to let it show. And the ways we often let it show is by pulling faces. I used to be an ace at that, pulling faces, Oh, I hit a wrong note. That would really upset me. Or sometimes saying sorry. And actually, if I hadn't said sorry, who would have known? Who would have known that I'd made a mistake? So, try to remember this. And playing in a festival is going to give you a great opportunity to learn and gain confidence in sharing not only your music, but sharing yourself. And the big plus is that you're going to have somebody like myself who will give you some feedback on how you can improve and do it even better. So it's great. Festivals are great for sharing music and for learning. And it's also, life is going to be full of challenges, and festivals are a great way of helping you to prepare for some of life's challenges. So I've been asked about how you cope with nerves. Well, one is to realise and accept that mistakes will happen. And the other thing is to take some deep breaths, slow breaths through the nose, and then exhale very slowly. You only have to do that a few times and you'll begin to feel yourself calm right down. I have to leave you with a little story. It's actually not my story, but I love this story. And it's one of my colleagues who tells me that he was performing on the piano at some venue. And he said, in his own words, I made a dog's breakfast of the opening 2 lines of a sonata. So he carried on playing and he got to repeat. And he said, then the only decision I had to make was when I had to repeat, did I repeat with mistakes in? I'll let you work out what you think he did. Did he play it again with the mistakes he'd made, or did he just try to correct them? I know the answer. Anyway, so I've been asked, adjudicating, what are the most important things I look for? And how's it different from teaching? Well, I have to be honest, I don't think it's terribly different from teaching, except that I have to respond in an adjudicating situation a lot more quickly. So when I'm thinking about teaching a pupil, I've got about a whole week maybe, or the time between one lesson and the next, to think about what happened in a lesson and what I can do to help the next week, and possibly even prepare some music or some exercises. But in an adjudicating situation, that has to happen, but at a lot faster pace. So it really has to be quick and snappy. And I quite like that challenge. It's more like a masterclass. You don't know quite what you're going to get presented to you, and you have to respond in the most helpful way that you possibly can. So what am I looking for in a performance? Well, top of my list is always the character, getting the character of a music right, and communication. You as a musician, you have something to say and in music, and I'd really want to be sure that you are speaking for your music, you're conveying the character, the mood of the music, and that you're putting the music first and not yourself first. And that's a sort of way that can help you to overcome nerves, is to think about the music first rather than yourself. And I'm looking for imagination as well. I'm, people who might have thought a little beyond the notes in detail. So, imagination, I would say, is top of my list, definitely above correct notes and correct rhythm. Of course, these are vital ingredients, and we do want them to be there, but it's really important that the character is there first. And of course, in performance manners, stagecraft is very important at this advanced level, and remembering to announce your pieces and to appear confident as you can, and to address performers. Address the audience. Told you I'd get my words in a model, didn't I? So address the audience, and remember, very importantly, to acknowledge them at the end. That's really, really important. I love it when there's a performance where, the performer lives a little dangerously, takes a risk, and that's really exciting. That can make a performance exciting. And always think, when you've got repeated phrases in music, think of a different way you can say it. You see, performances which are a little bit too cautious don't really have any impact on an audience. You don't feel anything, you don't get anything. So remember, take a risk. Be a bit risky with your performance. Not too risky, but, enjoy it. Above all, enjoy it. If you enjoy it, we'll enjoy it too. So, any funny stories? Well, I've mentioned, I remember in last video I did, was remembering an 85-year-old singer in Cornwall I adjudicated once. And when I commented to him on how wonderfully fit he was and how beautifully he stood, he was flat on the floor demonstrating about 10 or 11 press-ups. He wanted to show everybody in the audience how fit he was. Quite amazing. So a more recent funny story is that, we talked about nerves, and even though I don't feel terribly wobbly these days, just before a festival, I think in my subconscious sometimes I do have a little anxiety, and I sometimes have some interesting dreams about adjudicating. And it's not uncommon for me to have dreams like I'm late for a festival, or I've not prepared for a festival, or I'm adjudicating sat in my pyjamas, or I haven't cleaned my teeth, something silly like that. And one day I remember being at an Irish festival, and the night before I dreamt that all my papers got in a terrible muddle, and we had papers that had gone missing for when it came to feedback time. And the next day it really happened. And it was so funny, though, because I'd related my dream to my desk assistant. And as we were hunting for this missing performer's crit sheet, she said, "You know, that dream you had is really coming true." But we found it very quickly, and everybody had a great laugh. And most importantly, we survived. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you next year and wish you all the very, very best. And enjoy.